All right, Kelly, our last game on the slate for today, I went with Farmageddon. We've got Iowa State on the road at Kansas State. Kansas State is a 10-point home favorite, and this game carries an over-under of 46.5. It kicks off at 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Iowa State leads the all-time series here 52-50-4. So Kansas State can come within one game of tying this all-time series up. Kelly, we've got some nasty weather inbound. A couple of reasons I want to talk about this game. Number one, maybe the best rivalry name in the country. Farmageddon, terrific. Number two, disgusting weather. Sleet, rain, snow during the game. Highs are going to be above freezing, but dipping below freezing during the second half. And then the line was bet down from Kansas State minus 11.5. I think that is in response to the potential for what we're getting here. Now, I've been saying it all season, but Kansas State, really good football team, and they're pretty cut and dry. They beat the teams they're supposed to by convincing fashion mostly, and then they lose to elite competition, save for their one game on the road at Oklahoma State, and improving Oklahoma State at the time. The biggest factor here for me is that the fact that the game's in Manhattan. Will Howard, that is, at home, nearly a 68% completion, 11 touchdowns, 2 picks. On the road, just a 57% completion rate, 10 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. And if you look at their opponent splits, it's pretty even. They're not playing this cupcake schedule at home and a dog of a schedule on the road. He's just better at home. He's more comfortable at home. The biggest mismatch for me, Iowa State is 129th in rushing success rate, and Kansas State's 26th in rushing success rate allowed. Now, that's going to force the football into redshirt freshman Rocco Beck's hands on the road in poor weather conditions. On the other side, Kansas State, 22nd in rushing success rate. They have one of the best offensive lines nationally, and I trust this offense in the adverse weather, especially with their ability to move the football on the ground should they need to, should the weather really get that bad. So with Iowa State's inability to rush efficiently in the weather inbound, I lean under the point total here, and I hate laying 10 with the low point total, but I think I lean Kansas State. That is not an official play, but I think if you're looking, I have to make a play on the spread. I'd probably go with Kansas State over Iowa State in this case. Iowa State's offense can be stopped by anybody that has a decent defense. They were held to 16, 20, 7, and 13 points against Texas, Oklahoma, Ohio, and Iowa. So Iowa State, they're 120th in seconds per play as well, and Kansas State's middle of the pack in pace. So that, to me, says Iowa State's not going to score a ton of points. I don't know that Kansas State's going to run up the score here under the point total.
Brett, I, as you are, am a huge college football fan. If you're listening to this, watching this, and you don't know that already, then you I guess you're not paying attention, but I appreciate you watching and listening anyway. This is the one game, though, Farmageddon. It's the one college football rivalry that, I'll be honest, I really wasn't tracking on until I joined Twitter. I never realized the hate between these programs. It was one, I guess, because, as I'm growing up in the, late 90s, early 2000s, I'm a little bit too young to remember Bill Snyder's really, really good teams at the turn of the century. So by the time I'm old enough to remember, neither one of these teams, let's call it what it is, super relevant on the national stage. So as I'm forming my opinions about college football and trying to take it in from a national perspective, these two teams were maybe a little bit off the radar. Maybe that's why I kind of missed on this one. I just didn't realize the hate. And now I see it. I get it. I love it. You're right. Farmageddon. That's just a great name. So this is one that over the last, 4 or 5 years, I've really come to appreciate more than I ever had before. And I'm looking forward to this one. As I've said over and over on the episode here this week, my numbers have Kansas State minus 15.5. It's an 86% win expectancy. So you're saying it's not a play for you, but if you had to lean one way, you'd be on the Kansas State side of the line. My numbers suggest yes, and there's even some value there if you trust the model in this scenario. I've said it on multiple occasions during the second half of this season. Based on my power ratings, this 2023 Kansas State team, it's actually better than the 2022 team that won the Big 12 championship. The lucky bounces went the Wildcats' way last year, if you will. I mean, that's the proverbial phrase. They aren't going their way this season. They've lost, one-score games in each of their losses. They finally won a one-score game last week, and someone even tweeted, Kelly, they're not going to be number one in your most deserving, number one in your what if because they finally won a one-score game. And I said, you're right. I'm getting ready to post those things. They're actually going to be number 2. So take it for what it's worth. Kansas State's very close to having a very, very good record. Even without the bounces, though, there's still a 9% chance that Kansas State ends up in Arlington next week with a chance to defend their title. They have to get the win this week, though, to have any chance. That loss to Oklahoma State, as you mentioned, really providing a roadblock at this moment in time. The offense is ranked a season best number 8. The defense is a top 25 unit. For Iowa State, I really like Matt Campbell. The fact that they were in this race a week ago, I guess maybe technically based on one of the 128 tiebreaker scenarios still out there, I think Iowa State's actually a team that does have a non-zero chance to make it. But for all practical purposes, I think they're eliminated from the title race contention. But the fact that they're even in there after what happened in and around this program right before the season with the gambling stuff and all that, like, that's pretty impressive. I really like Matt Campbell. He's dealt with some tough adversity this year with that team and really gotten the most out of them, at least in Big 12 play. Some bad results in the non-conference, of course, but in Big 12 play, they've looked as good as you can expect. Number 16 nationally on defense, per usual. But also per usual, the offense, it struggled this year. They're number 71. That's been the story of Iowa State in recent years. Even though Iowa State's current power rating is the best it's been all season, with this game being in Manhattan and the Wildcats still having so much on the line, potentially, I think this game's later in the day, they might know some results already based on their chances, but potentially so much on the line. Even if they're already eliminated, it's Farmageddon. I think Kansas State gets it done. Bottom line, I have Kansas State minus 15.5. It's a 14% chance that the Cyclones win for the 4th time in 6 years in this heated rivalry. If Iowa State gets it done, you could say they've kind of had Kansas State's number here recently. 4 out of 6. That's not bad.
Yeah, Oklahoma State plays at 3:30 on Saturday, so Kansas State may be finding out right before kickoff. To touch on Iowa State really quick, hand up. I threw them out in the preseason. I thought the scandal and the missing a lot of their best players, their top players leaving the program was really going to sink the ship. But I know that there was a lot of discourse around Matt Campbell saying, well, he probably should have taken a better job while he had the chance. And to be honest, I probably uttered those words myself. But this might be his best coaching job yet. Took a team that the rug was pulled out from under him weeks, not even, the week before. Yeah. Their season kicked off. They lose their starting quarterback, Hunter Deckers, and they've turned it around. They're a bowl eligible team. Not bad, dude. Pretty good. I'm happy for them because the fan base, like they had no control over what was going on. All of a sudden, their team has 6 wins. Outside chance is 7 wins, but hey, 6-6 go to a bowl game after what transpired and what the team's been the past 2 years. Not bad.